cab driver followed his instincts when a 13-year-old girl got into his cab. While doing his normal work, taxi driver Sat Barora walked around on Tuesday afternoon searching for passengers. He traveled through the Oxfordshire region, hoping to find a client to board. Little did he know that the unexpected visitor would change his life forever. When he saw a little girl standing on the sidewalk pointing to a stop, Aurora did so. Little did he know that a series of challenging and dangerous events were waiting for both of them. Unaware of any red flags, he opened the door and the girl entered, signaling the start of a remarkable journey. Aurora did not hesitate to reach the girl by car. If you look at her appearance, she looks about 13 years old, wearing a school uniform. When he got into the taxi, he politely asked Aurora to take him to Gloucestershire railway station. Aurora was surprised by the unexpected request. He noticed that the little girl looked worried in the face. Cabby couldn't understand what was going on, but he knew something was wrong. Gloucestershire railway station was more than an hour from the city of Oxfordshire, where he picked up a little girl. Demonstrating his knowledge of the distance between the two places against his strange behavior, Aurora felt uncomfortable, yet at the time, he could not figure out why. He knew that his rider's choice of point was not his business at all. But with this teenage girl, she felt that something was seriously wrong. The fact that he had to take a taxi to the railway station nearly an hour from his departure bothered him. Aurora's background at the time told her that her parents probably did not know what was happening. If they knew you were going to leave so much, you would have to lie to them when you explain why. Many thoughts were running through Aurora's mind, and she could see that the little girl looked worried too. To reduce the tension, he tried to start a conversation, putting her in some small conversation. He started by asking the little girl why she was looking so far away from home. Would the girl trust him enough to open it? For Aurora, small conversations with her passengers were common, especially on long rides. But with this little girl, she didn't know what to expect as she seemed worried right away. He just kept quiet behind the taxi. But Aurora insisted. He kept asking her for details about the trip to help her understand her condition. He asked exactly where he was going when he arrived at Gloucestershire station. Stressed by the friendly but persistent questions of the cab driver, the schoolgirl finally gave in and answered. But her response reinforced the disagreement and made Aurora very suspicious of her and the whole situation. While he was speaking, the little girl refused to divulge too many details. 13-year-old Lass simply told her he was going somewhere with his friend. He did not leave a name or details. Therefore, his vague response prompted the suspicious driver to ask many questions. "Do your parents know about this?" When asked if her parents knew about her trip, she replied defensively by insisting that they knew she was meeting a friend. Aurora shook her head but kept believing she was lying. He could tell from his face and from his response that he was hiding a secret. The girl began to defend herself as she continued to ask him questions. However, he did not stop asking until he found the answers he was looking for. What information does the cab driver consider important to ensure his safety? Why was he determined to find out who he was and where he was going? Aurora knew she had no right to ask for confidential information from her passenger, but this, she felt, was a unique situation. His natural state was telling him that something was wrong and he had to break the boundaries. He just can't figure out why, or precisely that, this strange vibe was coming from. When she said that her parents knew about the trip, she knew it was a lie. He then felt bad when the girl stopped giving details. He felt that he might have crossed the line and that the child would be afraid of him, even though he had good intentions. As they approached Gloucestershire railway station, Aurora felt uneasy and anxious. He was reluctant to let the child go without the safety of his boat as he feared what might happen. He was confused and did not know what else to do. When they finally arrived at the station, the little girl seemed to be looking for someone. "Who are you waiting for?" asks Aurora. After giving a simple answer that he was expecting a friend, he grabbed his backpack and quickly left the truck. By the time the girl got out of the taxi, Aurora was not feeling well about leaving the station. He was determined to stay, at least until his friend arrived. As he looked at the little girl, he looked upset. This behavior reinforced his decision to stay. Aurora did not feel comfortable leaving the teenage girl, so she stayed behind and continued to watch the situation. Not knowing what to do, he called his wife for advice. She described the difficulties she was facing and hoped that she would be able to help her figure out what to do next. As Aurora and his wife used their taxi service together, he called out to her. She felt the need to talk to him about the child's suspicious behavior and hoped that he could offer some advice on how to help the little one. While talking on the phone with his wife, Aurora kept looking at the girl. He wanted to make sure that she would be able to monitor him and ensure his safety. Aurora's wife was just as concerned. What was it about this child that was so disturbing? Upon hearing of the situation, Aurora's wife became alarmed. As a woman, she thought that this little girl might be comfortable talking to her. With her tendency as a mother to kick too hard, and her husband admitting that it was the best thing to do, she decided to try to talk to the little girl. They believe that talking to a woman can make a 13-year-old feel more comfortable in the open. Aurora then lowered her window and called out to the girl. "Will you trust him enough to come?" And then again talking to his wife. The girl waited anxiously, but several minutes later no one would meet her. Aurora called her and asked her to speak to his wife on the phone. He refused at first, but after persuasive remarks from Aurora, the girl finally agreed. The little lost soul took the phone out of the cab driver's hand. Will his wife convince him to be open about who he meets and where they are going? Will this couple save him from a potentially dangerous situation? "Hello?" said the girl, putting the phone to her ear. Although he was hesitant, he agreed to talk to the driver of the minibus driver. He watched as the conversation continued, with his wife asking questions similar to the ones he had been trying to answer minutes earlier. "Do your parents really know where you're going?" Aurora's wife asked. The girl did not immediately answer the question, but the truth was wandering somewhere behind her mind, waiting for her to muster up the courage to deliver. Could the child be in serious danger? How will the couple help him? Although worried, Aurora's wife did not allow the girl to hear that they were worried about the situation. He kept asking questions and even called the girl, otherwise, not telling the truth. As it turns out, this mother's rebuke is exactly what the girl needed to hear in order to finally admit the truth. The schoolgirl, although nervous, revealed that she had not told her parents about her trip. He also told Aurora's wife that he was worried about her condition. Because he was so young, the couple did not think twice about getting help from the police immediately. Aurora immediately called the authorities, asking for help immediately. While they were waiting for the police to arrive, he spoke to the girl again. He asked her who she actually met at the station, hoping she would give a detailed answer. At this point, the little girl felt very comfortable for the taxi driver. He heard the plea tell the truth and said he was meeting a friend he had become acquainted with online. Her response reassured Aurora's guts when she heard that something was wrong. Upon hearing of the girl's friend online, Aurora knew she had to stay safe in a dangerous situation where she was in danger of being bullied. Thinking that he was too young and alone, he realized that he needed to help her. In the meantime, a phantom from the internet would make his entry. A 24-year-old boy named Sam Hewings, at the time, was entering Gloucestershire station. Carrying a backpack held in one hand, she scooped up the crowd and searched for someone. The little girl he was supposed to meet. Could he be the online friend the girl was waiting for? Hewings was looking for a girl he was supposed to meet when he saw two police cars waiting at the station. The sight of the authorities caused him so much anxiety and fear that he decided to leave the area immediately, doing his best to avoid detection. Not so with the actions of an innocent man. Why is Hewings so concerned about the presence of police at the station? Could it be that you are guilty of something? Did he commit some crime? Or was his concern related to the girl he hoped to meet there? Meanwhile, our friendly minibus driver did not act on his tactics. Aurora asked the girl if she could borrow her phone and call the friend number she met at the station. Surprised by the request, the girl reluctantly agreed to hand over her phone. With a look of shock on her face, the girl restrained herself. However, the kindness he felt from Aurora overcame him. So, after some hesitation, he offered to call. Did Aurora have a plan that could lead to the man's arrest? Just as Hewings was about to leave the station, his phone rang. With his depressed mind working on pure emotions, he did not consider the possible consequences of his actions before he responded. However, understanding struck him when the phone was connected, so he hung up without saying a word to someone in another line. What Hewings did not know was that all his actions were recorded on a security camera just outside the station. In extreme cases, this means that you will be caught answering the phone, a piece of evidence that could reveal great help to the authorities in exposing the black side of the hunter. Police were able to obtain his telephone number through the local building to which the telephone was connected. From this simple point, they did not know how their investigation would fade. Who is this Sam Hewings? And why is it so important that they get caught? After identifying Sam Hewings as the caller, investigators found themselves on a path to discovery full of peaceful growing facts. Hewings, it turns out, had reserved train tickets for himself and the child. A ride that would take both of them back to his house. It was in parts of Hewings' online interviews, however, that the most compelling evidence emerged, details of what he planned to do with this little girl. It is hard to comprehend how distorted the man's views were, and even worse, how well prepared he was to carry them out. Keep reading to learn more about her innocent child tricks. The online chat boards were eventually brought to Gloucestershire Crown Court. When the authorities studied the evidence, a post was made in court and no innocent person would ever register with them. It became clear that they were dealing with a child molester. The young girl, it seems, was trapped in a trap that she could not escape on her own. In addition to confirming that Hewings was a leading figure, other online chat history records show his involvement in various black groups. In these forums, Hewings spoke of his plans to kidnap, house, and abuse the victim, horrible deeds that represented only the part of darkness that hid from him. When Hewings' authenticity was revealed in Alaya, many horrible things were unveiled. His wild ideas led him to think of a horrible plan that would endanger the life of the intended victim. Police did not waste any time finding documents to raid Hewings' home. When they entered his house, they found a backpack, the same one he had taken to Gloucestershire railway station that day. When he opened the bag, Hewings' dark secret was finally revealed. At the bakery, police found 2 sharp knives, a glass case full of cocodamol, a strong drug, and a roll of duct tape. Only a criminal with a wicked mind would need such a deadly weapon. Shortly after this shocking discovery, Hewings stood in court, awaiting his decision. After his arrest, police brought Hewings to Gloucestershire Crown Court. From about September to November last year, your interviews revealed the tendencies and desires of child molesters, said Judge Michael Cullum. I have a young man in my mind, but he needs to be kidnapped, the judge said. While Hewings had not yet had a chance to pursue his plans, the evidence of his intentions was strong enough for him to receive a sentence. It was clear that he was determined to kidnap the girl, and the contents of her bag along with the contents of her chat logs provided strong evidence of what she was planning to do next. The judge said it was clear to him that Sam Hewings had planned to kidnap the girl. Hewings had pleaded with her to be safe with him, and that was why he was able to entice her to travel all the way to Gloucestershire. If it had not been for the kind and heroic act of Satba Aurora, the taxi driver, the little girl would have been kidnapped, tortured beyond belief in the hands of a twisted abuser. Because of Aurora's persistence and moral strength, however, the girl was returned to the edge of the abyss. Aurora revealed that he had been trained in defense a few months before the incident. The work is designed to help her identify when someone's behavior suggests that they need help privately. Her nature and training certainly paid off, as she was, a few months later, able to save the girl from a terrible tragedy. His strength, courage, and ability to act in harmony with his innermost feelings made him an internationally recognized hero. Sat Burora has been given high honors by Gloucestershire Police and could not be more grateful. Without being noticed, she is happy that the girl is now safe and sound.